Hey peoples, this is a list of my top 10 favorite movies that came out this year. Now, pre-warning, I did not see every movie that came out this year, so you might not see your favorite movie on my list. Also, maybe your favorite movie was not my favorite movie, and that's okay, but it might not be on my list. Who knows? We will see. And also spoilers for all of these movies because I'll be talking about them a little bit, but here we go. My number one movie is The Boy Band Con. Now, I know a lot of people have never heard of this movie, but it's a documentary. It's on YouTube TV and it came out this year. It is so good. It is basically the story of NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. They were managed by the same person, which I never knew until this documentary. But you basically hear about that man's past. I believe his name is Lou Pearlman. It is fascinating. The fact that he lied to so many people and the stuff he pulled off, it involves a plane company and blimps and jets and all this other stuff. I am amazed that this is not a real movie. But this is produced by Lance Bass and his production company. This was really good. It's well made. It's a lot of interviews from people you know in the music industry who you've seen from different boy groups and bands and stuff that he managed. And if you have not heard of this movie, you should definitely go watch it if you have YouTube TV. If you don't, go find a friend that does have YouTube TV and go watch this documentary. It is so good. But moving on to my number 9, Last Black Man in San Francisco. This movie was number 1 on my list for a very long time throughout the year. The best part about this movie is the messages within it. And what's great about it is that it's layered underneath comedy. This movie is very funny, very entertaining, very raw. It feels real. The characters feel real, like you're stepping into this world. But also the world is a character of its own, because even though they're in San Francisco and they show that whole community and that city and the people inside of it, the movie also shows another part of the city and has little elements that feel very Wes Anderson or Taika Waititi, like that, like these little subsections of this world that they've created. And every single character in this movie is incredible. I loved every single character in this movie. Everyone plays the role perfectly and everyone has a purpose. And at the end of the movie, where you have different revelations about what's a lie and what's real, and the whole main character's life and what he believed as a child and when he grew up, and how he lied to himself to basically comfort himself and make himself feel good. It's just the best. I love this movie so much. Another cool thing is that the main actor and the director, who are best friends, introduced the movie right before I watched it, so they were in the theater with me, and that was pretty cool. But anyway, moving on. My next favorite movie, number 8, is Tell Me Who I Am. This is a documentary on Netflix and it is absolutely fascinating. For those who don't know about it, it's about a guy who gets into a motorcycle accident and then he has amnesia. He doesn't remember anything whatsoever except who his brother is. And his brother basically has to teach him how to redo everything in his life. He shows him where their house is, how they live, stuff about their parents. These are your friends, this is your girlfriend. So his brother has to teach him every single thing because he remembers nothing. And here's the best part. After years and years of his brother telling him all of these stories about his life and just reminding him of his youth and their family and their parents and that whole dynamic and why their father acts this way and things about their mother and how loving their family is, he finds out that all of it was a lie. And it takes many years later. I believe he's 30 years old when he finds out that it all was a lie. And you'd think that he'd get the truth then. Nope, it is decades later where he'd actually hear the truth. And that's what this documentary is about. I don't understand how this is not a real movie. Like, this should definitely be a real movie. Next on my list is Toy Story 4. Now, to be honest, I did not understand why they were making this movie because Toy Story 3 ended everything and I thought this movie would be pointless because, you know, who needs another sequel? Who needs another Toy Story 4? Can we please get something new from the company that has all the monies? They can't seem to make anything new unless it comes from Pixar, which they bought, so it's technically not from them, but whatever. I had no interest in seeing this movie whatsoever, and it ended up being very enjoyable. It was funny, it pulled on your heartstrings. I love the characters, everyone is great in this movie, and there's not much else I can say. I just really enjoyed this movie. Is the story like mind-blowing? No, you've pretty much seen this type of story before, but it's a nice ending to the whole franchise. What should be an ending? It should definitely be an ending. Next on my list, we have Knives Out. I saw this movie twice because it's that good. Daniel Craig is probably my favorite part, but I also like the cops in this movie. I like Lakeith Stanfield. Chris Evans is great in this movie. I think he's having fun. I wish I knew everyone's names, but I can't remember everyone, but everyone is good in this movie. Back to Daniel Craig for a moment. Please let him stop doing James Bond movies because he seems to have fun doing any other movie but James Bond. Before this movie, I saw him in Lucky Logan and he was great in that as well. If you haven't seen that movie, go watch it. It has Adam Driver and Channing Tatum in it. It's so much fun. That movie's really good. But Daniel Craig had a blast in that, you could tell it. He had a blast in this one, and you could tell. And there are rumors about this being a franchise with his character, and I would love that so much. It was fun to see a whodunit movie in a theater, and the best part is that it's not a typical whodunit movie. It tries something new and switches up the genre with the way they divulge information to the audience, and I thought that was creative and fun, and all in all, it's just an enjoyable watch. Next on the list, which I know most of you have not seen, it's Dragon Ball Super Broly, or Super Broly. I always forget how to pronounce his name. But you know what I'm talking about. It's a Dragon Ball Z movie. It came out earlier this year in January. If you go online, it does say it came out in December, but that's for last year and that's overseas. In America, we got it in January, and this movie was so good for a Dragon Ball movie. Oh my goodness. The premise is very simple. Basically, for those who don't know anything about Dragon Ball Z, the simplest way to describe the story is that we have a king and he has a son, and his son is obviously the heir to the throne, and he's going to be the most powerful son in the galaxy. But one of the lesser people on the planet also has a son who seems to be more powerful, and the king cannot let that happen. So he banishes the kid to a planet where he hopefully will die. Well, that's what the king is hoping. And the kid's dad follows him and basically trains him, and they fight, and the kid becomes a massive, humongous, Superman powered warrior. And that's when Goku and Vegeta pop up and they have to fight him. And it is the most fun, awesome, colorful, visually astounding fight that I have ever seen. I loved it. This movie was so much fun, and of course Goku does Goku things and makes everyone his friends, and I just love this movie to death. I put it on my top favorite list in January, and I knew it wasn't coming off this list because I had so much fun with this movie. My next favorite movie, coming in at number 4, is The Farewell. Everyone's stuck on Crazy Rich Asians and how, oh my gosh, that movie's so amazing because it has a majority Asian cast and all that great stuff. Yeah, that movie was fine. This movie's way better, okay? The Farewell is an excellent film from beginning to end. I loved everything about it. But if you didn't see it, we have our main character played by Awkwafina, and her grandmother in the movie is about to die. But they're not telling her that she's about to die. And that's what causes a bunch of controversy. Apparently this is a thing overseas where they don't tell old people that they're gonna die, and it makes their lives better, I guess, because they don't know they're gonna die. And I guess they're saying that they live a more full end of their life because they're not worried about death. But anyway, they have to come see her, so they have to figure out a lie to come see her. And that lie is that one of the family members is getting married, even though he's been dating the girl for only, I think, a couple weeks. Hasn't been that long at all. But that's what gets everyone over there to see her and spend time with the grandmother, who is incredible. The actress playing the grandmother is amazing. I'm sure she's won a lot of awards overseas, but she would win even more awards if she was over here in America. That woman was my favorite part of the whole movie. I didn't go for her. I obviously went for Awkwafina because I love Awkwafina. She's just a joy to watch on screen. But the woman who played the grandma blew me away. Matter of fact, hold on while I look up her name. Okay, found it. I'm gonna butcher it. I'm sorry. Her name is Zhao Shuzhen, and it's spelled Z-H-A-O. Her last name is S-H-U-Z-H-E-N. That woman was the best. I loved her in that movie so much. And one extra thing that I will give credit to The Farewell is that this movie showed family on screen better than I've seen any movie, I believe, ever. But rolling on to the top 3. My number 3, we have the Joker movie. This movie was incredible to watch. I can't remember the last time I've seen a movie where I've seen a character start in one place and be a absolutely completely different person at the end of the movie. The transformation in this movie is so subtle, but it's so great. The comedy in this movie is perfect. I loved every single character. I love me some Zazie Beetz. She's the best. Also, the other guy from Atlanta, he's awesome. I wish I could remember his name right now. Brian T. Henry, I believe. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. Of course, Joaquin Phoenix, you know, it's Joaquin Phoenix. He's great in everything he's in. But every single choice in this movie works for me. I understand that some people are upset, you know, that like, oh, this isn't a real Joker movie because that's not really Joker. The Joker wouldn't do that and blah, 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 blah. And you can't make the point of, would this movie even have gotten as much praise or eyes on it if it didn't have the word Joker on it? And probably not, but who cares? It's a good movie. It's engaging, the story sucks you in, the character sucks you in, the sadness and depression of his life sucks you in, and just seeing him become a different person. And I think the best thing this movie does is that it shows that his situation and his circumstances created him into what he was. Yes, he does have mental issues, but the circumstances of his life sent him down a worse path. But I fully enjoyed this movie, and I really hope they don't make a sequel, because I don't know how that would work. If they make a sequel and it actually is good, I will be blown away. I will be amazed, because this pretty much seems like a one and done, but maybe they'll do something incredible and blow me away. But we'll see. Next on my list, I have Jojo Rabbit. This movie was so much fun, and probably the movie that showed the most heart out of any movie I've seen this year, which is funny to hear that the movie with the most heart is about a little boy becoming a Nazi. But it was just so enjoyable and very topical for today's society, because it's about one kid being told that this section of people over here are bad, they're evil, they're basically demons, they have horns on their head, and you should hate them. And then he comes in contact with who he's supposed to hate, and his mind gets changed. Scarlett Johansson does a fantastic job in this movie, so does Sam Rockwell, and this is probably Rebel Wilson's best movie that I've ever seen her in. It seems like every other movie she does too much, and she's trying to do this certain shtick that she always does, but in this movie it's very toned down and it works out well for the rest of the movie. But I absolutely adored everything in this movie. It was so funny and so cute, and I love the little world that they made within this movie. So now, time for my favorite movie, which everyone can go watch right now because it's on Netflix. And this number one movie is not one that you'd expect whatsoever. It's not a comic book movie, it's not a Marvel movie, it's not a Star Wars movie, it's not a DC movie, it's not any type of big explosion, it's not a super dramatic movie that came out this year, it's nothing like that. It's just the most fun I had watching a movie this year. And that was Invader Zim, Enter the Florpus. That is on Netflix right now. Go watch this movie. This movie is so much fun. And the best part is, if you've never seen an episode of Invader Zim, because it used to be a show on Nickelodeon, in case you didn't know, if you've never seen an episode, it does not matter. The movie does a great job of giving you a recap for people who have never seen it, but also starting where it left off for older fans. I have never laughed so much in any other movie this year, and the animation looks so good. And what's funny is, one day I was reading an interview with the creator of Invader Zim, and he went to watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and he was like, man, our movie sucks because this is what a good movie looks like with a bigger budget. I was like, no, your movie is incredible. Invader Zim is the most fun I've had watching a movie since I saw Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That's how good this movie is. It's so much fun. It's hilarious. The animation is great. The jokes never stop. They're so funny. I loved everything about this movie. And just to make things clear, this is not a nostalgia type thing. Nostalgia doesn't work on me. There have been stuff from my childhood that I have seen currently, and I'll be like, this sucks. I hate this. I don't like this. But this is actually good. They actually wrote a great script. They didn't lean just on nostalgia. They didn't make current social jokes in order to fit in with this era. They stayed true to who they were, which is the craziness of Invader Zim. And that's my top favorite movie of the year. And that's it, peoples. Let me know what you think about my list. Show me your list down in the comments. Is there a movie that I did not have on my list that you absolutely love? Is there a movie on my list that you're like, why is this movie even on your list? Oh, before I forget, I did have some honorable mentions. Movies that almost made my list were Dr. Sleep, Frankenstein's Monster, Monster Frankenstein, Peanut Butter Falcon, and Brittany Runs a Marathon. I liked all of those films. They just weren't great enough to make my list. But yeah, that was my list. Let me know your list. Let's talk down in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you for listening. Please continue to have a great day. God bless. I'll talk to you later.